Hello and welcome to JSB Talks Digital, the podcast for marketers, digital transformation champions, and those of you bringing your skills into the digital age. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Training Institute. Coming up in today's show in social media news, YouTube video card changes, Facebook aims for 1 billion VR users, and advertisers will soon be able to pay social media influencers in new cryptocurrency. I interviewed David Sunley from Talkwalker, Ask JSB, in Shoutouts, my 3 favourite Talkwalker features. In JSB's column, how to set digital goals that align with business goals, and find out what digital marketing tool saved my working week.
Social media news.
YouTube now requires creators to be partners to use external links in cards. The new rules mean that YouTube creators may now only direct viewers to web links using cards if the site is currently associated with their YouTube channel and the creator is a member of the YouTube Partner Program. YouTube states that this new policy is meant to curb abuse and does not affect current YouTube partners or existing end cards. YouTube also clarifies that channels do not have to actually monetize any videos as part of this requirement. Facebook is aiming to get 1 billion people into VR. Launching the new lower-cost VR device called Oculus Go, Mark Zuckerberg didn't put a time frame on his big goal. The new Oculus Go costs $199, less than half the $499 price tag of the Rift. And it should be available by early next year, so perhaps put it on your Christmas list. Hugo Barra, Facebook's head of Oculus, said he believes more people will use VR when they have a standalone device like Oculus Go. It was designed to be more comfortable, with stretchy straps to hold the device on your head, and with a more breathable fabric. It also has built-in speakers, so you don't have to wear headphones. Barra says, "We believe Oculus Go will be the most accessible VR experience." A new cryptocurrency is set to be launched by influencer platform Indahash, allowing brands to pay social media stars in virtual tokens rather than cash. The platform announced the arrival of the Indahash coin this week, with the pre-ICO set for November the 8th and running for a week. Indahash has around 300,000 social media users in 70 countries, and the platform matches relevant brands to them. The influencer creates a social media post mentioning the brand, which is then checked by moderators before being published. Indahash says it has worked with some of the world's largest advertisers on campaigns including Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal and Coca-Cola. Barbara Saltinska, co-founder of Indahash, said in an emailed statement that it makes perfect sense for the digital business to launch a cryptocurrency. With the introduction of Indahash Coin, we want to tokenize the influencer marketing world and create a revolution in terms of brand cooperation and audience development, solving a wide range of issues and challenges between influencers, brands, and fan bases. So, cryptocurrency in the digital world, what do you think?
Interview.
In today's show, I interview Richard Sunley from Talkwalker. I've been using the software for client projects recently, and I thought it would be great to have Richard on the podcast to share the key features and benefits. We caught up recently over Zoom, and you can watch this interview also on the Digital Training Institute YouTube channel.
JSB Talks Digital.
So in today's show, I am joined by Richard Sunley, who is the UK and Ireland marketing lead at Talkwalker, a social media analytics company. Richard loves to analyse the impact of current events and trends using social media data and finding new ways for businesses to get more from listening and analytics. Richard, you're very welcome to JSB Talks Digital. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks very much for having me.
So data is the big currency of digital marketers, and indeed for very many companies. But I can tell you what, Richard, I mean, data mining and data overload is also a big challenge for us. What have you guys taken to the market that can try and, make this challenge a little bit easier for us?
Yeah, I think it's something we hear a lot. I mean, people start out in marketing, you're not doesn't sort of realize you're going to have to become a data analyst so quickly. But yeah, I mean, with Talkwalker, what we try and do, what we sort of have built our platform around is making it both powerful and easy to use. That's sort of what we try and do. And one of the key things that I think makes it useful, particularly for people who maybe don't have so much experience with data, is that we've tried to create a sort of section of the platform which is very much focused on use cases. So it's sort of laid out in a way that makes sense if you just want to monitor your brand, or if you want to monitor a crisis, or if you want to compare your performance with competitors. And we've sort of handpicked the data and the graphs that you would need to do that, and then added little annotations as well, just to explain it a bit further. I think on our side as well, sometimes when you're working with the data all the time, you think, oh, well, this should be obvious to everyone. But actually that little extra sentence can really help people to understand what it is they're seeing, really, and then to understand how to use it. And then I think the second thing there is, so we've set out our platform that way. We also have a very hands-on support team who are used to dealing with clients of all different levels. And they don't just work to sort of solve your problem. They solve your technical problem. They try and understand what your business issue is and to show you how you can use data to solve that business issue, rather than just being a sort of technical support service.
Now, there's never been an easier time to promote your brand, yourself, your product, or your service online. I mean, social media has provided a gateway to the world for all of us. But with all of that communication and people having conversations about us and our products and our services, the data becomes important, and monitoring data becomes important. Now, I used to be a journalist and work in PR and still have some PR projects. So I understand the importance of monitoring what people are saying about your brand. But this is almost like a new departure for those in digital marketing. And is data monitoring and analysis as important as the promotional piece? Because sometimes I feel that it's ignored.
Oh, you mean people focus too much on the data, or not enough?
Not enough. They're wholly focused on the promotion and the engagement, but not analyzing that data. And I think maybe it is a fear, and maybe not being able to interpret it.
Yeah, I think it's probably, the thing you're less used to doing, which is probably crunching data, is the thing you're maybe less likely to spend more time on. If you've learned all about how to promote, how to distribute, how to write the right messages, but the data side has never really been your forte. And I think maybe that's something that happens quite often. And I think it's not really too complicated once you get down to it. I think one of the key things that we say to people who work with us is you need to try to have your goal in mind, and not your goal of how you want to use the platform, but what your goal is for the campaign, what your goal is for your next product. And then from there, we can help you, as it were, to work out how to use the data. I think that's really where we see ourselves, not just as a platform, but as a partner in trying to understand how to use the data, because we do appreciate that it's not easy, but it's also not as complicated as people might think. And that's, getting away from that sort of fear of the data. Like, oh, what do I do? I'm not a numbers person, is something you hear often. But most people, given some help and support, you can use it. And then once you do start to get the hang of it, I think you can see that, okay, now this actually helps my business. It's giving me more information on which to base my promotional activity and campaigns. I know which channels are better, what's working. And I think once you get over that initial stage, people start to see the benefit quite quickly.
And are you finding that perhaps initially when you speak to new clients, that they're very much focused on what we call vanity metrics, the top line figures of the number of fans, fan growth, and that they don't go so deep into engagement, sources of engagement, amplification through influencers, how it's contributing to the bottom line in terms of ROI conversions, goals in Google Analytics. So do you have to maybe broaden their mindset and educate them a little bit more when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think so. I think those are the metrics you get on Facebook and Twitter, and they're not necessarily aligned with your business goals. So it is sort of natural to want to use those because they're right there, they're easy to use, but they don't necessarily show you that much. So yeah, again, that's where we come back to you need to think about what your business goal is rather than your sort of metrics goal. So it doesn't matter that much if you've got a lot of engagement on a post. But it might be a signifier of something else. So I don't want to say they're irrelevant. They can be useful in a sort of as an intermediate goal. But yeah, I think it is something we sort of need to take people a step back sometimes, because they'll come to us saying, oh yeah, we want to increase our engagement, we want to reach this sort of target. And then we'll sort of say, okay, but what is it that you actually want to do with this as a business? Yeah. And then once you go back there, then you sort of need to start there to start thinking about what you need to measure. So then, are we trying to spread, if it's PR, are we trying to spread a particular message? How can we measure the pull through of that message? If it's e-commerce, are we trying to work specifically on conversions? So yeah, it really depends on the business, but that is the key, I think.
So what other metrics do you have within Talkwalker that can help with actionable insights and to inform a current campaign or a future campaign?
I think what we often try and do is we're very good at sort of integrating other data sets into our platform, whether it's your Google Analytics data or internal sales data or Facebook Insights data. So I think one way we're able to show different sort of ROIs is to measure those social metrics that you've become used to alongside these sort of harder business metrics, as it were, to see how those link together. It's something we call our sort of business impact metrics. So we like to put those together to try and help people link social to their goals, essentially. I think that we have a variety of sort of proprietary metrics as well that aren't necessarily, they're just slightly different. For example, we have something called a trending score, which lets you see how quickly something is trending. So if you're trying to newsjack, or if you just want to get a clear idea of what's happening right now, that can be a better indicator than something like engagement, which just builds up over time. There's no sort of time period on it. Yeah, and I think in terms of other metrics, I would probably say it's more about how you use the metrics alongside other things than the metrics themselves, because you can't, you can create influencer metrics as well based on a different score. But yeah, it does really depend on what you're looking for. Themes can also be important if you're looking for message pull through, which themes are being talked about the most. We have improved sentiment metrics as well, which can be useful again if you're monitoring a crisis to see if there's a big spike in negativity. Though we would say it's usually better to drill down into it to see what's causing it.
So I'm working on a workshop at the moment called Building Your Digital PR Newsroom. And sometimes it's really difficult to bring traditional journalists and PR professionals into the digital age because their comfort blanket is print, it's radio, it's TV. They're comfortable with the metrics there and how they monitor it. But oh my goodness me, the opportunities for the PR industry in digital and combining it with a platform such as yours, takes it to a whole new level, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And so much of PR, the amount of impact you can get from a news article could be the same as a tweet from someone who has a big audience. So it is something that definitely cannot be ignored. And I think even on news articles now, they're shared on social, people are commenting on social. So it's very difficult just to get by with the traditional media metrics, I think, your clippings. There's still a use for them, but they need to be combined with metrics that match the digital platforms that things are being promoted on.
Now, I'm using Talkwalker at the moment, and it all starts with the query that you set up, and as you say, goals and objectives that you have. But I have to say, the dashboard is super user friendly. I mean,
That's good to hear.
when I see a load of numbers, my eyes glaze over. I prefer to see a screen full of words, and I'm in my happy place.
Yeah.
But user experience is obviously something that you guys put a lot of work and thought into.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is really the key to get people to actually use your platform, I think. Because sometimes, at the initial stage, they're like, oh, wow, it's amazing. I can do all these things. How great. And then when it comes down to it, it's like, oh, actually, it's a bit complicated. I'll just stick to the few things I was doing at the beginning. So user experience really helps people to get more from it in the end. In the end, if it's easy to use and if it's even an enjoyable experience to look for the data, you're probably going to use it more and get more from it and be more willing to speak to your customer account manager to get more information. So I think on every level that user experience is really, really important. It's something we put a lot of time and effort into. Now
you do offer a free trial, so people can test the platform, and then there's different pricing categories, I guess. Dependent on your use, isn't that how you price? Yeah, it's dependent on your data usage, essentially, how many results you want. So, for example, if you're looking to track a small brand or a niche topic, maybe a smaller package is okay for you. If you want to track, the new iPhone release, you're probably going to need the bigger package because there'll be hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people talking about this new product. That's how we base it. Yeah. And of course, you can start off with a smaller package, and if you find that you need to jump to the next one, then you can. Yes, of course, yeah, that's not a problem. So finally, Richard, if you were to give 3 top tips to marketers in terms of coming to grips with reading and analysing big data, and they have the fear, what would you say to them to help them overcome that fear? Sure. I think, it's going to sound a bit like a broken record, but really the key is think about what your goal is first. I mean, I think that sort of takes away the fear of the data as well. And it just helps you to focus your mind on what it is you're trying to achieve. Are we trying to get more leads? Are we trying to spread a message? Are we trying to sell more products, get more people into stores? Whatever it is, you probably have quite a specific goal of what it is you need to achieve. If you start with that, then the other metrics you need start to become easier. And also, I would also suggest that you get support from whoever you're working with on your platform, because they will be able to help you and they know how to help you. And it's also probably an important part in choosing what platform you go with as well. You can usually get a sense for how good the support will be. I would say that's very important, because as much as everyone's trying to make their platforms easier, it is still it's a new piece of technology. It's a very powerful piece of technology. It takes time to learn. So another thing I would say is, obviously think about your goals and how you're going to measure it, but also keep an eye open to new possibilities. It's a very fast moving area. There's a lot of innovation in the sector. New things are happening all the time. And even in social media as well, the metrics they come out with, the features they introduce are changing all the time. So to really keep an eye on what's going on, and again, to make sure you're asking for help. So if you see, we've introduced this new feature, to see, okay, how can I actually, is that going to benefit me? Is that something I can use? And to get more information there. And I just say on that point, when I've been setting up queries and thinking out the data that I need to get, you were excellent, and I'm not just saying that because you're on my podcast, but it does almost feel like you've got another member of your team. It's like I've now acquired like an analytics manager, and I don't think that can be underestimated in terms of choosing your platform. And even as recently as the last couple of days, and I'm like, Richard, I'm going into a meeting, the data that we've collated, what's the most important bits. And I think that is super important, and I think that will mean that customers will use the platform and use it correctly. So definitely looking at the customer service that is provided by any software is, I think, one of the key criteria that you should consider when purchasing. Yeah, I think we like to think of ourselves as sort of an extra consultant to help you analyze your data. Yeah, and that's very good ROI, and any package that you're getting, that is really good value.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to hear.
So Richard Sunley from Talkwalker, thank you so much for joining me on JSB Talks Digital. I'm going to add all the useful links to Talkwalker on the blog post associated with this podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. It's been great to speak to you.
Shoutouts.
In this part of the show, I give shout-outs to individuals, organisations or brands that are remarkable online and worth talking about. This week I'm sharing 3 of my favourite Talkwalker features.
1.
Talkwalker will analyse the success of your event. It measures success of events based on predetermined social KPIs that you have set down. So, benchmark event marketing efforts using reach and engagement metrics, identify top event influencers, and find the best way to engage with them. It will also measure the reach of your event hashtag.
2.
Social media is all about what's happening in the now. With Talkwalker, you can get real-time analytics so that you can respond immediately to trending topics with real-time analytics across all social platforms. You can gauge changes in audience reaction by the day, the hour, or even the minute. Imagine putting your brand into the micro moments of key events.
3.
Why not improve campaign targeting by knowing social audience preferences by segment? You can reduce the risk of any campaign by having a clearer idea of customer needs before a product or a campaign launch. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
Ask JSB.
In this part of the show, I give my listeners the opportunity to ask JSB a question. If you've got a burning social media or digital marketing question, then simply log on to digitaltraininginstitute.ie/askjsb and I'll answer your question on the show. This week's question is from Trassa Murphy, a journalist with Radio Kerry.
Hi, Joanne. With increasing work schedules and workloads for journalists these days, how can one best complement the online presence, the online work, the social media presence that's necessary for newsrooms these days? How does that complement what we do on air, so it doesn't put an extra burden or an extra layer on already very busy newsrooms?
Thanks for your question, Trassa. I remember being a journalist on Highland Radio in the early noughties, and back then I was also updating the radio station website with news. Fast forward about 15 years and there's so much extra work to do for journalists, as you have to post and share news across all your social networks, as well as keeping your website up to date. Let me give you a few JSB tips to repurpose news for social. Working in radio, your news is probably going to be pretty short, about 4 sentences. That's actually not going to work on a website. You need to flesh out your news content and at least get about 300 words for the search engines to pick it up. I would also embed the audio that you've shared on air. And I would also try and get a photo of the interviewee and any video footage. If you're out and about on a job reporting, make sure you use your smartphone to capture some video footage. This will all add to the blog post. You can then repurpose that blog post for all your social networks. As I've said before, start with the long form content, a video or a blog post, then repurpose it for social.
JSB's column.
In today's column, I discuss digital goal setting, campaign management, and data analysis. A recent article in Forbes stated, marketers are more mature now with capable measurement practices. This means that they will spend judiciously on just what works for their goals. And many are dialing back pure digital advertising investment. prioritising instead of non-working investments in data, technology and customer experience. Well, what does all of that mean? First of all, you've got to undertake research. Research should be an ongoing process during digital marketing campaigns. While analytics play a large role in digital marketing, campaigns will not reach their full potential if the right research is not done in advance. Before investing full steam in social media, use your overall goals and spend time doing research on who the main demographics are for new user acquisition, what demographics you currently have that you want to retain, and where are the gaps. For established customer bases, it's important to do research and understand if your previous campaigns have been successful and what drove that success. It's also worth getting feedback on what the pain points users have and what they feel is missing from your brand experience. Investing in digital media means having more access than ever before to customers. Though it might be harder to reach in this competitive space, digital media provides far more insights than traditional advertising methods ever could. The most successful digital marketing strategies are the ones that harness that information to create a solid foundation for future success. Ask yourself, what are the main measures for success? Once you have decided what the primary goals are for digital marketing, the natural evolution to this process is to decide what the best metrics for success are. Each brand has different analytics and key performance indicators. So it's important to explore all the options and settle on at least 3 to 5 measures as a starting point for benchmarks. If the goal is brand awareness, then what are the right measures for your specific brand? Is it number of shares or number of followers? Is it through sponsored content or organic? And what is the reach for each of these? How many users go from your sponsored content to your page to follow through? Or is the goal to get content shared on as many platforms as possible to gain maximum visibility? If your goal is to grow an existing following, then the measures differ. You might ask yourself, how many users complete a buyer journey but do not purchase what is in their cart? Or, how are leads generated from first-time visitors? And are they purchasing right away? In this case, a digital marketing strategy will have to identify pain points users have in order to improve the process and gain efficiency. But once key performance metrics are established, they should be reviewed at least once a month to see if the strategy in place is successful or whether there needs to be realignment. Using the right research and investing in the right resources that make the most sense for your brand are instrumental to get maximum return on investment for your marketing efforts. To learn more about setting digital goals and measuring success, drop me an email to joanne@digitaltraining.ie.
Social media tool of the week.
The digital marketing tool that saved my working week this week is Talkwalker Alerts. It's an alternative to Google Alerts. You can monitor the web for interesting new content about your name, brand, competitors, events, or any favourite topic with Talkwalker Alerts. It's an easy and free alerting service that provides email updates of the latest relevant mentions on the web directly to your email inbox or RSS feed reader. Find out more and set up your first alert at talkwalker.com/alerts. Thanks for tuning in to episode 70 of JSB Talks Digital. I show up every week because you guys keep tuning in. If you haven't subscribed just yet, why don't you? Simply search JSB Talks Digital on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. If you're a regular listener, I'd love if you could take a few minutes to post a review. And as always, I have everything discussed on today's show on my award-winning blog over at digitaltraining.ie. And don't forget to send me your questions for Ask JSB at digitaltraininginstitute.ie/AskJSB. I'm Joanne Sweeney Burke. This is JSB Talks Digital. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
JSB Talks Digital.